I mean,
Okay.
we already kind of.
We kind of went through these the other night.
That there was going to be a little bit of a difference in things because we've already got those monies set aside for the for the grant for the zoning code update and yeah, I mean it just seems pretty consistent. I know like you've looked at just year to year historically. What are we typically looking at when we're talking about permitting and fees and meetings and all those, and that's just what builds to this.
Yeah, we're looking to see what has happened historically, and I personally sort of, I start with the zero-based budget. You know, I'm not necessarily, I'm saying, okay, what did we spend last year? How much of it did we spend? And do we need those resources for whatever reason? So it's looking at that and seeing how we can save every penny.
Okay. I didn't get all the way down here. Tracy, do you have any questions for Jill? No, I'm good. Okay.
Okay.
We appreciate you, Jill.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item on here is code enforcement. That's page 25, so go back to page 25. And Mark Lindsay, I believe you are up at the podium.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
I left my phone over there, so there shouldn't be a,
thank you. Well, thank you for the people at home who are trying to listen to this as well. Page 25, okay. So this one starts with
E 3620.
3620? Okay,
So the big difference is there's an increase because of the master code enforcement.
yeah, so what I did was I took, normally, in the past 3 years, we've been going to the American Association of Code Enforcement Conference, which was 1900. We wanted to pursue the master code, so I offered to do that because it was a bit more expensive than I thought it was gonna be. So we took out the conference and kind of just adjusted it that way. A little bit more expensive, but we tried to adjust a little bit.
Otherwise, it seems to be pretty much in line as well, right?
Yep.
Okay. Can you clarify a little bit more about the master code enhancement? Like, what will that do?
So there's only 3 or 4 people in New York that have it. It's just a little notch in our, you know, for our community to show that we're a professional community, that I'm a professional code enforcement officer, and I have something to back that up that's a national standard to rank that against.
is there a certain number of hours of this training that you have to participate in?
Yep, so there's 6 on-site classes to take, which I've done all 5 out of the 6. And then there are 3 exams that you have to take through the International Code Council that are somewhat independent study, but they should correlate with what I do on a daily basis.
How are you feeling about getting all that done on top of your very busy job?
So it's tough. There's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot that's outside of the job that I'll do at home, and that's fine. You know, I think it's important to keep learning, you know, elevate, not get stuck doing the same thing, staying in the same spot. So I'm happy to do it. I've been doing it for a long time. I've, you know, I've been doing extra stuff constantly, so it's not a shock to me to do a little bit more. Something to do, really, other than cart kids around the sports.
Which
And
you love
jobs
to
now.
do. Yeah.
Jobs too. My daughter's got jobs. So, job, sports, and school.
Okay. Any questions at this end?
No questions.
Any questions at this end?
I did just think of one. So,
Go ahead.
like we were saying, you made that adjustment based on the Master Code professional certification. I think that's fantastic. That's great. It's first off, just like you said, always showing that you know, it's a great way to just show to get that credential, show you're continuing to grow and put that there, and it's great for us to have.
And
in the village.
commitment.
Absolutely.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah. And so with that, would it be one of those things then too, is like factoring in for later years, attending those conferences, because I'm assuming with the certification, then there comes like continuing education credits, and then we go back to the conference to continue to do that. I just want to, I assume that's the case, just because you're always working on, clearly you're always working on keeping up to date.
Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, there are continuing education credits that you have to get to maintain any certification. So just in general, for the New York State code enforcement, we have to do 24 hours of service, in-service training, which we do through the Finger Lakes Building Officials Conference. The ACE conference is a bit more, it's like a next step up. It's a national conference, it's all United States, there's a lot of different people there, very diverse crowd. It's actually really nice, it's better than our Finger Lakes because it's just this one little part, and now ACE is kind of worldwide. You see how other places, other cities, other towns do things. Big villages, small villages, cities, you know, all that stuff. So it's good to meet and talk with those people that do those things. So I do want to continue to do that. I think it's good for us, for me, to keep developing, to kind of network a little bit beyond just New York State.
Yeah, no, I think, and I completely encourage that, you know, it's a chance to, like you said, learn from places,
Yep.
near and far. Thanks.
Yep,
I think we have another question for you.
okay.
I'll let you guys go. So,
Did you?
you know what? I'll ask the question. So there's a question when you get to attorney's fees.
Yep.
Because there's nothing, it just comes up with 10,000 and then there's nothing and nothing. And can you
So-
explain how the number,
I think you
how
recommended.
is it reflected
So-
in what we're doing with the budget?
From what I understand, last year it came from a different line, and now it's being added specifically to my budget. It's something that I would pull out specifically.
We
I'll look
allocated-
to the
yeah,
expert.
We allocated it all to the village attorney line,
Okay.
and we discussed that increase in the first budget meeting, so that's part of it. So
So
it's just keeping it all the village attorneys
it got
together.
taken out
Yep.
of the separate departments and it's put in one line together. That's
Yes.
what I thought had
Yep.
happened, but
I had it wrong, I had it backwards. Thanks.
you know what? We'll get to the answer some way here.
You've got a great team, we'll get you all the answers.
Does that answer that question? Okay.
So it's not that there are no legal fees, it's just that it was moved.
Yeah, there, with code enforcement, there comes a certain level of attorney involvement that eventually has to take place. You know, our initial letters and our initial violations can only go so far if they're willing to cooperate and remedy the situation. If not, it has to take the next step, and that's where John comes in.
Okay.
I have to admit, I did not realize that you are also our fire marshal.
Yep, and building inspector,
You wear a lot of hats.
that's right. And from my picture last week, it's a big head to fit them all.
For,
In other municipalities, is that usually held by the fire chief? And
No,
Is
the
it-
fire
okay.
marshal and the fire department are completely different. The fire marshal is not always part of the fire department.
Okay.
It's more of a liaison in a way. There are in some communities where the fire marshal is also a volunteer
Fireman,
fireman.
okay.
so when Jason was in this role, Jason was also the fire marshal.
Yep.
I did not realize that, so I learned something.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do. We're so glad that you joined our community last year.
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
Good luck with those classes.
Thanks.
Thank you. Jill, I forgot to say thank you for joining our community last year as well. So before you walk out the door, thank you. We appreciate the work that you do as well. She's like, okay, I'm away from that microphone. I'm not talking. Okay, that will take us to police, which is on page 20 of 42. And I saw you hovering out there. Welcome, Chief Barnes.
Thank you very much, guys. How are you?
1 second. So wait, this starts on page 19, right, Megan? Yep, 3120?
3120s.
Okay. All right, so I know you're not at a loss for words ever. What would you like to share with us this evening, Chief?
There's always a lot going on in the police department, as you guys know. It's never ending. It's ever cyclical with between training and new laws that come out and standards and everything else from federal government to state government to local government. So our budget didn't change a whole lot this year. We accounted for some new hires. We're predicting 2 people to retire this year, one in October and one in December. At least that's the word I have right now. I think those those retirements might happen. I think the guys are looking forward to doing something other than policing. They've been doing it a long time, so this year's main goal is to try to find new staff, and that might be a challenge. Every single police department in Metro Rochester is having a real hard time trying to recruit new talent. So as you know, it's a very tough job, and in the current environment, it doesn't make it any easier.
Chief, I saw that you had requested 60,000 in overtime,
That's correct.
and then it was adjusted to 50.
I think the $10,000 that we asked for extra was for a 207C. Basically, we have a member that got hurt for a fight outside of a bar that happened 2 months ago. A subject attacked one of our officers, and he tore his ACL in his knee. So he underwent surgery 2 weeks ago. So we're down a staff member right now.
So that's the 10,000.
It is to cover overtime and try to make a new hire by June 1 so we can go through the summer full staff.
Okay.
So your recommendation, though, is 60, but I think the village manager recommended 50. Is that
That's
going
right.
to be okay?
It is going to be all right. We're going to do the best we can.
Okay. There was also a $5,000 recommendation for warrant and discovery that was not
Yeah,
included
so
in
last
this?
year it was 7,500, we took 7,000, we took 2,000 away from that. So last year and the year before was a guess. This comes from a new law at the state level, and those red flag laws, the TURPO laws, which are temporary emergency risk protection orders, and they go to a final emergency risk protection order, depending what stage you're at. They go from a TURPO to a FERPO. If we conduct a TURPO, it could take anywhere from 10 to 24 hours to conduct that arrest and do it correctly per the state reform. So we try to account for that in our budget. So that's an unknown item. We didn't use a whole lot last year, so that's why I reduced a little bit this year.
Okay.
I see that cleaning supplies have stayed steady.
Mayor, the cleaning supplies are very important. We have a police department that is aging, has not
I
been touched
understand
since
that.
1982. This is a very good segue. Thank you, Mayor. But the police department, we have in the capital plan for the next couple of years to try to take a look and focus at the police department. It's the last department in the village that's been untouched. Like I said, it's been 40 years since we've done anything in the place. And honestly, we're not real proud of people coming into our department right now, because one of the reasons we joke of in our managers meeting on Tuesday morning is the police department smells. And it just does, and it's from old carpet and old hangings and old ceilings and everything else. So we're gonna try to make a concerted effort here in the next year to 18 months to try to bring about some changes in the police department.
And Brian talked about that in our
Absolutely.
capital plan when we went through the overview on
That's very, very important to us.
last Monday.
Yep, and more than warranted. And you guys are welcome. I'd love to take you on a field trip down there and show you what we're doing. If you guys haven't been down to the police department, we can point some things out. I think you'd all agree after the tour that it definitely needs upgrading.
Any questions from the board? I'll look at this end, and then I'll look at this end. Anything down here?
No, thank you.
You guys,
Thank you for your service to our community. Thank you. And is there somebody else back there?
Officer Cantwell and Sergeant Ryan Keown are here with us this evening. They're thrilled to be here.
Officer Cantwell was hidden by you, so I was like, I thought there was a third person back there. Thank you all for your service to our community, and have a good evening.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that will take us to fire, which is page 22.
All the 3410s.
3410?
Yep.
Okay. All right, and Chief Overacker is here. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. I know
problem.
you're another person with a really busy schedule. So,
I heard last week that all of my exploits were put out in public display, so I'm very busy.
really?
And applauded.
Okay.
So really, from last year to this year, there was no major changes. The way that we do our budget, obviously it coincides with the way the village does theirs, but we kind of take a zero-based approach where we look at starting from the ground up what we spend our money on every year and see areas where possibly it may be possible to save some money, to make better financial decisions moving forward. And really, from last year to this year, there wasn't a whole lot of changes other than obviously there was some building expense related stuff related to natural gas. Obviously, this year wasn't really much natural gas used. with the changes there. Previous years have been like that too, so we were overestimating for several years, so we opted to decrease that. But beyond that, relatively, most of our contractual expenses did not change from year to year.
I just recently saw, I'm trying to remember who it was from, a grant opportunity. I think, are you, I don't know if you're aware of anything like that. Do you
Yeah.
know if we'll be doing anything
Sure.
to apply for that?
Yep, so we pursue grant opportunities all the time. A lot of it is, it requires a lot of detail in terms of writing these grants, so we try to use the expertise we have on staff. Sometimes that's difficult, but we try to do it. Last year, we were awarded an ARPA grant, or actually, this year, we were awarded an ARPA grant. We anticipate getting all that spent prior to the end of this budget year. But overall, there is some state infrastructure grants that we've been looking at, specifically related to firehouses, and we're making those applications as best we can.
Great. Please let us know if there's anything that we can do to assist with that. I know it's hard, like I forward these things because like there's all these grant opportunities, but what they leave out is like you need to fill out 25 pages of paperwork and it's a matching grant, so you have to spend the money in most cases and then they'll reimburse you for some of it. And it makes it a little bit challenging. I can tell you that from NICOM, from the New York State Conference of Mayors, that there's been a lot of pushback saying you have to make these applications easier for these different grants.
Absolutely.
Not that that changes overnight, but that you're asking us to apply for grants, but then every time we want to apply for a grant, we have to go spend $25,000 to get somebody to write the grant.
Absolutely.
And-
And that's been our huge problem, especially with like the federal level. Assistance to Firefighters Grant is probably one of the largest grants for firefighters and fire departments across the country. And it's probably 120 to 130 page application process, and including essays and all this other stuff. And it's very involved, and there's private companies that are, engaged in doing this, and obviously they have a lot of expertise doing it. We're trying to do it as volunteer staff, which gets very difficult to do, so. But,
Thank you for that.
no problem.
Just a question about, you're in need of a replacement hose,
Yep.
$40,000.
Yep, so we actually started last year doing research in regards to our current attack hose setup. There's two basic types of fire hose that are carried on fire trucks. There's attack hose and supply hose. Supply hose is the stuff you see going from the fire hydrant to the truck, supplying the truck with water. Attack hose is the hose that we take off the truck to go into a burning building, into a fire. And most of the hose that we have currently in place was put in service in the late 90s. It has a 20-year lifespan, so we are well beyond that. We're actually starting to see hose delaminate, which is actually really bad. It means that hose can fail. And under fire conditions is the last time we would want it to fail. We don't want it to fail at that point. So started some research last year and determined that, with $40,000, we can actually go about replacing all of our attack hose. I spoke with the village manager. At the time, my original plan was to try to keep it under our contractual budget, and which is very difficult to do, especially when you're looking at everything where it plays out and trying to keep under that certain percentage points on increase if we had to do that. After talking with the village manager, we opted to go with a capital route on those things, so that got transferred to the capital budget. It was originally proposed in my contractual budget,
saw that,
but
yeah.
got moved to capital. So,
And we saw that on Monday of last week as well.
Our natural gas expenditures weren't less $40,000, so you can't just,
unfortunately, no.
not just,
Okay. All right, I'll look at this end first. Any questions down here?
No, I'm
For-
good, just
for
thank you
Chief.
so much.
Thanks.
thanks for doing such a great job.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Yeah.
No questions, just thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Heidi's our legacy fire department person.
As the daughter of a New York City firefighter, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for all the work you do. And thank you for coming to the weekly meetings here at Village Hall.
I'm a firm believer of that, the last time you want to meet somebody is in an emergency situation and not know anything about the other person you're talking to. I'd rather, put my face out there, be able to communicate, talk. I know sometimes that historically hasn't been the case for the fire department, but we're trying to change that moving forward.
Great, thank
So-
you. Your effort is definitely
and-
noticed.
As we move towards I know this isn't in the budget, but I know we're always looking for more active ways to recruit members.
Absolutely.
If the fire department would like to work on recruiting at the farmer's market, I know somebody over there, and I'm sure that we can hook you up.
I'll certainly keep it in mind.
So please share that. Who's responsible for recruitment these
Yep.
days?
Recruitment is my assistant chief, Dan Reardon.
Okay, it was Dan last time I
Yep.
talked. So I would love it if we could use an opportunity at the farmer's market to help work on recruitment of new firefighters.
Absolutely. And I'll definitely reach out.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it.
All right. That takes us to our favorite department. That would be FMC, Fairport Municipal Commission. And shout out Holly, I met your brother last week. I think I met him before.
She said, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't realize he was your brother, but I met him last week. Thank you for being here, Superintendent Haggerty.
Happy to be here. So, this is a.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 second. It's Appendix 7.
It's got its own appendix. You're really important.
So this is an interesting year that we are truly changing up the budget process. That this has been a lot of work from Holly Evans, who's our CFO, who's sitting here,
Hey, Holly.
We're so happy to have you here.
and Manager White, along with Lauren Neese. The four of us spent a lot of time. This is so we've always been a cash-based budget, which doesn't tend to forecast well, doesn't match our audited statements, along with it doesn't meet our doesn't match our regulated or PSC annual report. So we're going to an accrual basis budget. So some of the anomalies you see in the budget are just truly from going from a cash-based budget to an accrual-based budget. So when you look at the summary, and I want to go over some things where you see a 24% increase. It's not a 24% increase per se. What some of that is there's two things that make up almost 21% of that. One is our regulators have some mandated charges that are going up again this year. We pay into the Clean Energy Act. We have no choice. Every utility does in New York State. We also have some large capital projects. We have about $1.4 million into a substation project and about $2.1 million into a new meter project. Our electric meters are over 20 years old. They need to be updated. So this will be a new meter system. So when we take between the mandated charges that are going up tremendously along with the capital projects, in reality, it's about a 4% increase in the overall budget. So I just kind of wanted to start there and just kind of lay that out. But some of the anomalies you see are truly from that cash base to an accrual base budget.
Is there anything that you'd like to highlight so we're back, Emily's not in the appendix, she's up in the front. But I think
I'm both places.
she can go back to the appendix. Is there anything in there that you would like to bring to the attention of the board?
I think the two major projects being the big capital projects, the substation project. We were faced with, typically you replace parts of a substation at a 40-year lifespan. We had forecasted that, which was actually into this fiscal year, with the material, the supply chain issues, the cost increases. What should have been about a $5 million project ended up being about a $15 million project, and we couldn't do it. So we really had to regroup. We did extensive testing over the last year, and we're going to go back and we're going to spend about $1.5 million to extend the life between 15 and 20 years in addition. The equipment's capable, but we need to spend $1.5 million to get more time out of it. So that's part of this capital project. So took a lot of thought, a lot of engineering work on staff. So I applaud them for thinking outside the box and doing these things. The other large capital project is a new smart meter system. Part of it is we are mandated to go into smart meters. It's also great technology. It helps us. Our customers can find out, what they're using now. But the other thing it gives us is, we have an outage notification system that we know when streets go out. We've been working for the last 20 years building a fiber link through our system Well, now we can finally utilize these things, knowing this was coming. So, instead of someone calling us and saying they're out of power, we're gonna know when the customers are out. And we can build some AI back into that and say, what is the next upstream device? So our crews can streamline restoration.
Will you be able to submit a meter read whenever you want?
You won't need to submit a meter read because we will be able to read it at will.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, one of the things, we have lots of apartments. We have lots of final reads that happen on a daily basis. People don't think of Fairport and all these apartments, but as we serve Parrington also. So there's lots of people moving in and out. So now instead of sending someone out to do a final read, literally customer service reps in the office can get the final read from the office. So there's a lot of efficiencies
Customers will be
built in.
so happy.
So the efficiencies are definitely built in.
That's great. And on top of it, though, the sales, we've had a warmer winter.
We've
So
had two
sales-
bad winters.
Yeah, two really, well, bad for you.
Yes.
But not bad for everyone.
It's twofold. I
Yeah.
mean, the cost of power is much higher on the grid right now. Our mandated charges are much higher. So even though our customers saw higher bills or somewhat the same bills, which I guess it was lucky it was a warmer winter, because if it wasn't, the cost would have been up that much more. So as you know, our budget is built off of sales. We normalize sales over 10 years. So when you have two bad winters, we have two bad budgets. Right now at this minute, and it's through staff's excellent work, we're still forecasting a very small surplus. If you remember last year's budget, we forecast very conservatively, but we still plan to take from our depreciation reserve last year to balance this budget. In reality, as we're finishing this budget, we should show about a $60,000 to $80,000 surplus, which is just, over the course of the last 12 months, that's staff adjusting. And that's through a tremendously bad winter for sales. So everyone's doing a really, really good job. So I'm lucky to have an amazing team.
Yeah.
How many retirements are you working on this year so far?
I'm eligible, but no.
You're not allowed to
You're not going
retire.
there. No.
I don't think, I am not
'Cause is
forecasting.
Donna's
We have one.
complete?
Donna is going in June.
Okay.
So she may, at this point, she would be the only retiree for this next fiscal year that we're aware of.
Can you, so I know who Donna is because I got to ride during one of the power outages around with her delivering pizza to folks working on the lines.
So Donna is our stock clerk. She's been with us over 22 years. She's reached that stage and she's ready to retire and enjoy time with her family and, soon to be grandchildren and things. So, so we'll be making a new hire for a stock clerk. The revolving door in the line department continues, as people move over to RG&E and do things. So we'll have new faces again, but that's just part of the business right now. The electric industry is just incredible. The amount of money and projects that are out there, and the investor-owned seem to have unlimited bank accounts that they can throw money at people. So we do fight that battle, but we're very lucky to have a great team, and we keep moving forward.
And the Village of Fairport is a great place to work.
100%.
And you also wear the IT hat in our village. You,
IT and fleet, but I'm very lucky.
Yes.
Luckily, Lauren actually wears those hats.
Okay.
The things that go really, really well is her responsibilities. The things that fail are mine. So, it's a team effort. This is not one person that does these things. So we do manage IT for all of the village, fire, police, rest of the village, along with fleet services. So there's an awful lot that happens in the FMC.
I don't know if the board's aware. I'm aware because I've sat in those meetings. We're getting our website's going to be updated. Do we have roughly a time frame yet? Do you know?
So
I know that's Lauren's
Yep,
responsibility.
Lauren's been working on it. We actually have both websites going right now in parallel. We're making some minor changes. I would hope within the next 30 to 60 days that we might be able to go live with it. We're still waiting for some feedback and we're tweaking some things, but right now the new website is up and running along with the old one, and we're getting close.
Okay, that's great.
10-yard line. We're ready to push it into a goal.
That's great. We'll get a new picture of Mark up there.
have a very unique skill set. You wear a lot of hats. I've said that a couple times, but it's, and again, in this case with you, you are, you know,
It's the people that I'm surrounded with. I mean, everyone, if you ever go by early in the morning, I mean, our hours are 7 to 3:30. You'll see most of the second floor lights on before 7. You'll also see them on after 5 o'clock at night. It is a passion.
yeah.
If you see the people watching this meeting right now online,
Hi,
it's
everyone.
staff. So I just, yeah, I mean, everyone's,
It's a good sign.
passion.
It's a sign of a good leader to delegate to other staff members. So that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board?
I have a simple question, or a very
Go
novice
for it.
question. The substation, you said, I love that we're gonna extend and not replace for the 15 million, but it's gonna cost like 1.5 million.
Correct.
And then the smart meter project, which is mandated, is 2.5 million. Where did that money come from?
We're going to bond it. So it's debt. So part of any business, we take on debt, and this will be paid for and depreciated over 20 years. You know, just as, these are things, just like when you do a street, you know, the village will take on debt for the street, and then you pay it off over time. These large projects is the same thing. That we will go out for a bond, and then it gets paid off over time. It's a great question.
That
though.
was my question.
It's a
It
great
was like,
question.
where's that coming from? So, okay.
You'll be very much, the village owning Fairport Electric actually takes the bond. So the bond will go into the village of Fairport, so when you see bonds for the streets, ours will be combined into those. So what may seem like a large bond project coming up, we actually a combination of the village work along with Fairport Electric work.
Okay.
I think we're good after that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. Holly, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for joining the Village of Fairport over the last year. We appreciate you being, is it
It'll be
like
a year in April
a year in April?
coming up.
I was like, did I miss the anniversary already? It just seems like
This
you're
is your
here.
first budget. Congratulations.
We also have a rate case going on. Holly's
Oh,
been
yes.
very, very busy.
The rate increase, right? Application.
Yes, which will take 12 to 18 months to complete, so, but Holly's been
By
very
the time
busy
we get
behind
it,
the
will we
scenes.
need to apply for another one?
Yeah,
Yes,
of course we will.
It's just that cycle?
yes.
Okay. Good thing you're good at it, Holly.
Or you will be. Even better.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here
thank you.
tonight.
you.
We appreciate you. And certainly, the town of Perrington, residents of the town of Perrington and the Village of Fairport appreciate Fairport Electric in a giant way. Anytime that there's storm or any kind of weather, it's the first thing that you start seeing out on social media is, I live in Fairport or in Perrington, and we have Fairport Electric. Boo-hoo for all you folks with RG&E. So they appreciate you as well. Thank you. All right. Megan? That's it? Okay. Any last questions, comments? Are we going to go through more of the capital plan on Wednesday? Or wind things up on Wednesday?
I think Wednesday is as needed. If there's items you want to discuss tonight while we're here.
I think that it might be better if we have Village Manager White in the room as well. Maybe if there's any remaining questions or items that are of question for you all, why don't you submit them to Village Manager White and to Megan? And if we need to have a meeting, we'll schedule the meeting. Does that work okay? Does that work okay for you all?
I think that sounds great. Gives us time to reflect and process.
And if something comes up between leaving the meeting tonight and before Wednesday, send an email and we'll keep the meeting on the schedule for right now. And if there's no need to have it, we won't have it. But if there's still questions that need to be answered and discussed, then we can wind things up.
I know that the Pocket Park is in the budget, but yet we haven't even seen the results of the survey. And I thought we would at least know the results of the survey and have a discussion before we went further with the pocket park. So that could be
It's
my
in the budget.
email.
We haven't submitted anything for bids. We haven't taken any steps. It's just a placeholder in the budget.
Yep, we don't have to spend it. If it's there, it's just there to be used if we decide to move forward. Especially with the capital reserves, we have to have that pre-approved.
So it's a placeholder in the budget. Before we would actually move through, there would have to be all of the rest of the materials, so plans and the information that you're looking for to have a full discussion about it. But if we don't put it in the budget in the capital plan, there's a hole in the budget should we decide to do anything there. Because it needs to be covered and discussed it's in the reserves, right, right, Megan?
It makes sense to have it there. We've,
Yeah, it's
Been a-
general capital reserve, which is separate from the operating budget.
the comprehensive plan that was an area of need, and that's where that came from, that project. It's been a long time, a want of the village for a long time, so I think it's fine keeping that there, and as we get closer to the project, we can have further discussion, especially looking at the surveys. We'll go from there.
So
That's my
I'll
2 cents.
I'll leave it if you have something that you are concerned about, that you want to get together again, where Village Manager White's in the room and Clerk Treasurer Cook is in the room. I'll give you your official title instead of just calling you Megan. What I would suggest is submit those questions and submit them, copying out the rest of the board, and we will leave the meeting on the books. And if for some reason we come to a point where we don't need to hold this meeting, we'll send out a Fairport alert and we'll cancel the meeting. So it's an open topic that, like if you want to get together and discuss that further and have a better understanding, then we'll get together and we'll meet. Okay.
If we don't meet, then this will be the last meeting before the eclipse happens.
Yes. Yes.
So we might see each other after the eclipse event.
Okay. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn
So moved.
by trustee Mishler.
Second, trustee Wyka.
They're going to fist fight over it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With that unanimous, we are adjourned for this evening. And the next scheduled meeting at this point in time is on Wednesday, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, the 27th.
Wednesday, the 27th, at 6 p.m. in this room. Thank you. Have a good evening.